It says I'm alive. Well, that's true. I pinched myself and it hurt, so I guess I must be alive. Good morning. This is Mike Killian of the Navigator Prophetic Ministry. It's now 9 o'clock here in Charlotte, North Carolina, on the east coast of the United States. If you are watching this from the other hemisphere or other time zones, got a short message for you today. It's from the Revelation where the three foul spirits, three unclean spirits like frogs come out of the bottomless pit. Okay, now this is what I was shown. Actually, I heard this message 1977. It was on the book of Job, and it was on the when I was studying the book of Revelation. Three foul spirits as frogs come out of the bottomless pit. And I was looking for an application in the Bible as to where I could see that and fit that in. And that advised him during his great tribulation. Okay? You know the book, you know the story of Job, how that when he was in his most serious time, three friends came to him and they were believers, okay? We have to look at that picture as though it is believers coming to him and advising him, okay? Well, it turns out that if you look and analyze the arguments of those three friends, okay? So this would be like if you're going through a tribulation and you let your friends know that you're going through this tribulation, and they start advising you as to why. I mean, they want to help you, so they advise you as to why they think you're going through this trial and tribulation, which sometimes God doesn't even let you know what is the purpose of the trials and tribulations until after. But it's just that you were being grown up. God was maturing you. You know, it's sort of like when a guy goes to a boot camp for the military. You know, he goes in as a teenager, maybe 19, 20 years old, and you know, he waves bye to his mama, and his mama waves bye to a boy. And 18 weeks later, after he comes out of boot camp, he comes back and she's looking into the eyes of a man, okay? So he left as a boy and returned as a man, okay? So this is what happens during our trials and tribulations. Well, these guys come around and they try to explain to him why he's going through what he's going through. And if you study their responses, they fall into three categories. One of them argued from his tradition. You know, Job, we have a tradition here in our society. We have a tradition that says this and that and the other thing. Then the other one came by reasoned by way of his assumptions. He says, I assume, you know, it is assumed that you're going through this problem because you did this or that or the other thing, and it was condemnatory, okay? So we have tradition, we have experience, then there's assumption. Or did I say assumption? We have experience, tradition. We have this tradition amongst our people. We have this assumption. I assume that you're going through this because I assume you did that. And then experience. You know, by my experience, I had the same problem once, and this is the way I handled it. And I am assuming that your experience is the same way as my experience. So let me speak to you out of my experience. Well, all three of them missed the point. trying to do good. And they were his brothers. What is the point of this message? The point of this message is your trials and tribulations are handpicked for you. Okay? They're orchestrated in the throne room, especially for you. Okay? The orchestra leader, you put yourself in his hands, remember? You said, Father, on earth as it is in heaven. When you became born again, you basically said, my life is over, my life is now your life. And I put my hand in your hand. And then when we do that when things are going good, but when things started to become a tribulation, then we start looking to the horizontal saying, uh-oh, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? You did nothing wrong. Job didn't suffer from anything. The only thing that he could be blamed after the fact was, he says, the thing I feared has come upon me. He feared, but that was after the fact. He didn't cause it to happen, but he misconstrued the whole thing. So don't misconstrue your trials and tribulations and why you're going through it. God will oftentimes not even let you know why you're going through what you're going through until after it's all over. You'll say, oh, hey, I'm a different person now. And that's the whole purpose, is he's growing you up. He's circumcising you. All right? Some people say, well, I'm trying to come up with an example. Somebody says, oh, I'm devastated over my divorce. I just don't like the idea that I'm divorced. I don't like that it happened. When you find out what kind of a person they were married to, that there was fraud involved, or maybe there was such a personality change. Maybe they started hitting the drugs, or maybe became an alcoholic and destroyed themselves. And there was no way out but to circumcise yourself of that person who was pulling you down. David, when he went off into the wilderness and then came into the city dancing half naked, his wife began to mock him. Well, we find out that pretty soon she was not his wife anymore. Later on, she married somebody else. They broke that thing off. Well, what was the purpose of that? Weird was being mocked by his wife. He didn't need a mocking wife. So circumstances were worked out to where she was taken out of his life. I believe the same thing happened to Paul. Paul, by Jewish law, had to be married in order to be a Pharisee. And we don't ever hear of his wife. The first time we hear about him is his conversion. I mean, that's the most important thing that in his life that we learn. And then after goes off into the desert for 14 years, comes back, has been cleansed of his Phariseeism and his Judaism. He's carrying a new message, and then he goes off and gets commissioned, and then he goes off onto his mission. We never hear of his wife. The traditional belief about that is that she enjoyed such a cushy life as a Pharisee, and then when he turned to follow the cult leader, Jesus, she couldn't live that life anymore. So she couldn't live the life that Paul had chosen. So she got rid of him. And that freed him up to do what God called him to do. So you need to make sure that people are on board with you. But the point of the matter, what I'm making is, The purpose of your trials is that God circumcises certain attitudes from you, like tradition, experience, and assumption, and breeds new paradigms and new thought patterns that fit more in line with heaven rather than the earth. Okay? That's my message for today. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord cause his countenance to shine upon you and bring you peace. May your anointing grow every time you pray. And give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and share this video to your networks and ask them to subscribe also. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.